I ain't kill your sister.
To take his life.
It began in September 2024 when emergency crews were called to a home in Whitehall, Ohio, after reports that a girl was not breathing. Inside the home, first responders found her in critical condition, and her older sister was also showing signs she may have been hurt. The baby was rushed for medical help but could not be saved. As the investigation unfolded, it quickly focused on the girl's mother, 21-year-old Charity Dreyer, leading to her arrest on multiple charges related to the tragic loss of the younger daughter and the injuries to her surviving daughter months later. Dreyer appeared in court and chose to plead guilty to involuntary manslaughter and endangering the girl.
I understand I made mistakes as a mom, and I accept accountability and responsibility for my actions. But I still got a 2-year-old daughter out here that I gotta get myself together for.
During the hearing, she expressed regret and said she never meant for her daughter to be harmed, adding that she wants to rebuild her life for the sake of her older daughter. The judge sentenced her to a total of 15 to 20 and a half years in prison. In June 2020, Robert Bryans took his twin daughters from a family home in San Diego without permission. He drove them to Sunset Cliffs, a scenic ocean overlook, and, according to prosecutors, made the devastating decision to drive his truck off the edge and into the water below. First responders arrived quickly and were able to rescue Bryans and the girls. All 3 survived, and the girls were rushed to the hospital for treatment. After years of court proceedings tied to domestic and custody issues, Bryans pleaded guilty to attempted murder, kidnapping, and related charges.
I'm thankful that Robert is taking responsibility for his wrongs and ready to serve his time.
A little shaken, but at peace for once, and I can finally move on. Thankful and just beyond grateful. Knowing that this day was coming has been haunting us for 4 years, but it's nice to finally have closure today. Not just for myself, but for my daughters, most of all. A roller coaster ride. It's been up and down. Trauma. There's good days, you know, being able to see my daughters smile and hug them and love them has been the best part. To know that their dad is taking responsibility for the horrific acts that he made that day and the choices that he's made. Even the choices for the last 4 years of dragging us through this miserable time. I'm just eternally grateful that it's closure, it's true closure today.
In 2024, a judge sentenced him to 31 years in state prison and issued a 10-year protective order to give the girls and their mother the space to heal. Today, their mother says the girls are healthy, happy, and thriving, grateful that a heroic rescue and the final court ruling have allowed them to move forward with their lives. In June 2023, 36-year-old Bushra Mori was visiting a friend in Westland, Michigan when shots were fired. Police say 31-year-old Amir Patterson broke into the home in a jealous rage and opened fire. Bushra tried to escape, but she was tragically struck and did not survive. Another person at the scene was also injured during the chaos. Within days, Patterson was arrested in Detroit and charged with multiple felonies, including murder, home invasion, and assault. As the case moved forward, Bushra's family attended every court hearing, determined to see justice served for the woman they described as kind, compassionate, and deeply devoted to helping others.
Ms. Maury was killed fleeing for her life from the defendant who was shooting wildly at any person who was in his field of vision. They were afraid to testify because they knew of the defendant, they knew of his reputation, and they knew he was a dangerous person.
During the sentencing in October 2025, emotions overwhelmed the courtroom. Family members delivered heartfelt statements about Bushra's life and the pain left behind.
We feel robbed. We feel violated. Our hearts ache so painfully for my sister.
I cried silently because my sweet Bushra wasn't there. The pain was unbearable.
One relative briefly lost control and threw a water bottle toward the defendant, a moment that showed the depth of their grief.
So stupid ass up. I don't listen, man. I ain't kill your sister.
Even the judge appeared moved by the family's sorrow.
I am so sorry that there is so much evil in this world. Mr. Patterson, On count 1, homicide, murder in the second degree, you are going to be sentenced to 75 years to natural life.
Recognizing Patterson's history of violent offenses and the impact of his actions, the judge ordered a 75-year-to-life prison sentence, ensuring he will likely never be released. While the verdict brought a sense of accountability, Bushra's loved ones say no punishment can ever fill the empty space left by her loss. In June 2022, neighbors living in a Rancho Peñasquitos condominium complex became concerned when they heard repeated loud banging and shouting coming from the home of Nahal Connie Dadka, a 45-year-old woman who lived alone. They called 911 several times and reported a man trying to force his way inside. Officers came out to the scene that night, but when the building fell quiet, the police left without making contact inside the condo. The next morning, officers returned for a welfare check and discovered Connie had died. Her neighbor, Parrish Juan Chambers Jr., was detained at the scene and later charged with her murder.
It was not a quick death, nor a gentle one. Hear about all the injuries she suffered, the beating she endured, and the eventual hemorrhage in her brain that she died of from blunt force trauma at the hands of this man.
Prosecutors say Chambers had been harassing her for years and had smashed through her sliding door before the fatal encounter.
He does not remember banging on Connie's door and yelling in the courtyard. He does not remember breaking the glass, and he does not remember the altercation.
Defense attorneys, however, claim the two had a complicated relationship and that Chambers was too intoxicated to remember what happened. The case sparked strong criticism of the police response the night before Connie was found. In the courtroom, neighbors testified about their calls for help and the fear they felt hearing the disturbance unfold.
And he went for her throat, and she was trying to get away, being so much smaller, she couldn't. He was trying to choke her.
He was running around the unit, seemed like back and forth, almost like he was chasing somebody, and I heard what sounded like objects being thrown around.
In August 2025, a retrial began, and on September 12, 2025, a San Diego jury found Chambers guilty of second-degree murder in Connie Dadka's death. Just days after Zane Alston was born in July 2024, doctors discovered multiple unexplained injuries. Because of those concerns, Child Protective Services placed him under the supervision of a relative and limited unsupervised contact with his parents, Damari Hossein Alston and Trinity Naomi Perez. Despite those safety measures, Zane was brought back to the hospital 2 months later with additional traumatic injuries. After several days of medical care, he sadly passed away. Investigators reviewed the parents' digital communication and say they found messages and online searches suggesting there had been earlier harm that was never reported. Detectives concluded that Alston allegedly caused the fatal injuries, while Perez failed to protect her son or seek help in time. Both were arrested and appeared in court as the case moved forward.
There's already a CPS investigation going on originally where the child had been at 10 days old, and so then these occurred when the baby was 2 months old, and so due to the fact that they weren't following court conditions that were already in place and his lack of ties to the community, we felt that the bond needed to be high. They were having unsupervised contact with the baby and not following the court conditions that had been in place previously, and then ultimately the baby was taken to the hospital where he was pronounced. The bond of the father remained at $2 million, and then the mother's bond, Trinity Perez, is at $250,000. Obviously, they are also given, if they were to make bond, a long list of conditions, including house arrest, no contact with children under the age of 17, remain in Harris County, things like that. We believe that the father actually committed the offense of capital murder where he caused the to the child. And then injury to by omission is, as a mother, we have a duty and an obligation to protect our children, to seek adequate medical treatment for them when they are injured, and so we believe she did not uphold that duty and the father caused injuries. And there were text messages and searches that indicated that there had been ongoing abuse of the baby. Now the baby was only 67 days old, and so there's only so much time that could pass. But throughout that time, their relationship with the mom and the dad showed that the child had been being multiple times. We knew about the incident when he was 10 days old, already having broken bones. If these are moving, they shouldn't have any bumps or broken bones, certainly. They'll have additional court settings. Eventually the cases will be presented to a grand jury, and then a grand jury will decide whether to true bill or no bill the cases, and then we'll continue through the court process.
The judge set a $2 million bond for Alston. Perez was given a $250,000 bond with strict release conditions such as house arrest and no contact with minors. The case is now headed toward a grand jury review, where a decision will be made on whether the charges will proceed to trial. Loved ones of the couple attended the hearing but declined to comment. In June 2023, police in Wintergreen, Virginia, received a call for help from a cabin where a young man, 23-year-old Daniel Barmack, was staying with friends. According to investigators, he had taken a mix of drugs and suddenly became aggressive and confused, frightening the people around him. Wintergreen police officer Chris Wagner responded to the scene, trying to calm the situation and protect everyone involved. But the encounter turned tragic. During the struggle, Officer Wagner was fatally injured, and the entire community was left in shock by his loss in the line of duty.
This wasn't an accident. These were deliberate decisions that led to a foreseeable end.
Officer Wagner put his life on the line to save the victims here and even the defendant from himself, and it cost him his life.
Daniel Barmack experienced a psychotic break.
During the sentencing hearing, the victim's family spoke of heartbreak and demanded accountability.
You are an adult. You chose to continue to be that manner of person.
Frequently deal with nightmares due to my actions. Serve as a constant reminder the terrible pain that I inflicted upon all the parties involved. I wish down to the very core of my being I could take back my actions that night.
In court, Barmack later admitted responsibility, pleading guilty to second-degree murder and related charges.
The facts of this particular offense before us are horrific. I've never experienced anything in those 40 years as terrifying as watching the video of Officer Wagner's body-worn camera.
In 2025, a judge sentenced him to 48 years in prison, describing the case as deeply disturbing and emphasizing the bravery of Officer Wagner, who put himself in harm's way to help others. In January 2021, Maya Millett disappeared from her home in Chula Vista, California. She was a devoted mother of 3, and when she suddenly stopped responding to family and friends, concern grew quickly. Investigators began looking closely at her husband, Larry Millett, especially as he offered varying accounts of her whereabouts and showed little cooperation with the search months passed with no sign of Maya, and the community continued to hope for answers. In October 2021, Larry was arrested and charged with murdering his wife. Even though her body has never been found, prosecutors believe the couple's marriage was under serious strain and that Maya had been preparing to leave. Since then, the case has moved slowly through the courts. There have been delays due to changes in Larry's legal team and questions about whether he was mentally fit to stand trial. Years later, the case still has no confirmed trial date, and Maya's family remains determined to find the truth and bring her home. In February 2025, emergency crews were called to a home in Ramona, California, where Cal Fire Captain Rebecca Marodi was found seriously injured. Investigators quickly focused on her wife, Yolanda Marodi, after learning the couple had recently been discussing a separation. According to court records, security footage from the home showed the moments leading up to the tragedy and helped direct detectives toward what happened.
One of extreme violence with 34 stabbing or slashing. Also, portions of this event were captured on video, seeing the victim running from the defendant, begging her to call 911.
Not long after the incident, Yolanda left the country and was located weeks later in Mexicali, Mexico. She was taken into custody and returned to San Diego County, where she was formally charged with murder and ordered to remain in jail without bail. Since then, Yolanda has appeared in court multiple times, including once in a wheelchair, and has pleaded not guilty. The case is still ongoing, and if she is eventually convicted, she could face a sentence of 25 years to life in prison. In December 2006, Oceanside police officer Daniel Besant was responding to a routine call when he was suddenly shot and killed. One of the boys involved was Meki Gauno, who was a minor at the time. Because of the seriousness of the crime, prosecutors moved his case to adult court, and in 2009 he was convicted of first-degree murder. The sentence he received was extremely lengthy, effectively ensuring he would spend the rest of his life in prison.
I think of the chance of Meki being released and my wife being at the bank or the grocery store or the post office or walking on the pier in Oceanside and running into him That gives me shudders.
Years later, after California changed its laws regarding minors tried as adults, Gauno and his legal team asked the courts to move his case back into the juvenile system, which could have greatly reduced his punishment.
It was an assassination. It was an assassination.
A judge reviewed the request in 2025, but ultimately ruled that the original adult conviction should stand.
This case now has been transferred to adult court. It is done in the adult court, and we're hoping that this could be the end of Mr. Gauno's case and get some closure for the families.
Gauno was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole, plus additional time, and Officer Besant's family expressed gratitude that accountability in the case would continue. In September 2022, Annalise Navarro was out playing near her home in the City Heights neighborhood of San Diego. She followed behind a group of people toward the street, just as Margarito Angeles Vargas drove through the area in his SUV after leaving a family gathering. Moments later, the girl was and her family rushed to get her emergency medical care. Despite the efforts to save her, she passed away the following morning. Investigators later determined that Vargas had been driving under the influence and had a previous DUI on his record. Because of that history, prosecutors pursued a murder charge. His defense claimed he did not realize he had hit anyone and points to his height and visibility issues, while prosecutors argued he showed disregard for safety by driving under the influence.
The back side of the vehicle lifted considerably enough that you could see it on the video.
Consistent with driving over someone?
Yeah, and the video clearly shows that the only thing out there was Annalise. The white material appeared to be matched, similar to white material that I found at the scene.
And walk us through the white material that you had found at the scene.
It was a jelly-like substance that I felt I recognized.
What did you recognize it to be?
A baby's diaper.
In 2023, a judge ordered the case to move forward, and a jury ultimately found Vargas guilty. He was later sentenced to 19 years to life in state prison. In late December of 1983, the family of William Mambro became worried when they couldn't reach him at his home in La Mesa, California. His mother and sister eventually went to check on him, but when they entered the house, they discovered he had been
attempted to get into the house. They had to force their way in themselves as they had no key.
The home looked disturbed, and detectives believed it may have started as a burglary. Despite their efforts, the case soon went cold and remained unsolved for decades. More than 30 years later, in 2017, La Mesa police reopened the investigation with the help of new DNA technology. That work led detectives to James Bogut, who was living in Texas. He was arrested in 2019 and brought back to San Diego County to face a murder charge connected to Mambro's death.
1983 murder case that ironically happened on, we believe, Christmas Eve or Christmas Day. After the murder, this defendant went to Texas. We have no evidence that they did know each other. There's no evidence at this point that they did, or that they were acquainted with each other.
Over the next few years, the case moved through the courts, and in 2023, a jury reviewed the evidence and ultimately found Bogut not guilty. After nearly 4 decades of searching for answers, the case closed without a conviction, leaving the mystery of what truly happened to William Mambro still unresolved. In December 1986, 20-year-old Kara Knott, a student at San Diego State University, disappeared while driving home from her boyfriend's house. When she didn't arrive that night, her family immediately grew concerned. Her car was soon located near a freeway off-ramp along Interstate 15, and the investigation quickly escalated. Detectives eventually focused on CHP officer Craig Pyer, who was on duty in that same area. Evidence and multiple witness statements revealed that he had a troubling pattern of pulling over young female drivers at that very off-ramp without clear cause. As more facts emerged, Pyer was arrested and charged with Kara's murder.
It's still hard to believe that the Craig we know could do something like that.
I love my husband, and I will always stand beside him.
The courtroom phase showed two sides of the former officer. Some who knew him described a polite, religious man, while others, including former spouses, portrayed him as controlling and quick-tempered. Several women testified that Pyer had stopped them on isolated roads simply to talk, raising further concern about his behavior while wearing a badge.
I was very upset. I was on the verge of tears at the very beginning, and I was just about crying by about now. I didn't understand why I had to go to the bottom of the ramp, and I had asked him that. He said it was unsafe up on the shoulder on the freeway.
Kara's family submitted emotional statements to the court, urging that he should never be allowed to harm anyone again.
Pyer had to get a real
no reason in this evidence for me to believe that he walked around with a rope attached to his belt held in his hand. He had to engage in a conscious decision. Finding that rope, he had to wrap it around that youngster's neck. I am satisfied that it was done with deliberation, premeditation, with malice aforethought.
In 1988, after 2 trials, Pyre was convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to 25 years to life in prison. His parole has repeatedly been denied, and he remains incarcerated today. On January 29, 1979, Brenda Spencer fired from her home in San Diego, directly across the street from Grover Cleveland Elementary School students, and staff were arriving for the school day when the incident unfolded. She killed 2 school staff members, Principal Burton Ragg and custodian Mike Sucher, and 8 students and a police officer. She was charged as an adult and later pleaded guilty.
Is she doing pretty well? Holding up well?
I don't want to talk about it right now if you don't mind.
Yeah, he's back plugging a couple.
She's very scared. She's very uncertain of her future. She's, I was almost in tears there beforehand. She's a frightened young girl.
On April 4th, 1980, just one day after her 18th birthday, Spencer was sentenced to 25 years to life in prison for the deaths and injuries that occurred. In the courtroom, she appeared quiet and emotionless, while her father described her as frightened about the future ahead.
There being no legal cause, why sentence should not now be imposed?
That is correct.
As to counts 1 and 2, the sentence is 25 years to life.
In the years since her conviction, Spencer has gone before the parole board several times, but each request has been denied. According to the San Diego County District Attorney's Office, she will have another chance to seek parole in 2028, though officials have made it clear they do not support her release. In 2019, Auburn police officer Jeffrey Nelson responded to a call about a disturbance outside a convenience store. There, he encountered 26-year-old Jesse Sari, who was unarmed. What began as an attempt to arrest Sari for disorderly conduct quickly escalated. During the struggle, shots were fired, and Sari was critically wounded. He later died without ever stepping into a courtroom to defend himself. For years, Sari's family and supporters demanded answers. The case became part of a larger conversation about police accountability in Washington. After a lengthy investigation, prosecutors charged Nelson with second-degree murder and first-degree assault, alleging he used deadly force when it wasn't necessary. The case went to trial, lasting months as witnesses, experts, and video evidence were examined. Jurors listened closely to every detail, recognizing the weight of the decision before them. Then, on June 27, 2024, the jury delivered its verdict.
Please be seated. Members of our jury, it's come to my attention that you have reached a verdict. Mr. Foreperson, if you could please hand the forms to Ms. Doris for my review. I'll now hand them back. Mr. Foreperson, give me one moment. Officer Nelson and defense, if you please rise. Mr. Foreperson, in the matter of the state of Washington versus Jeffrey Nelson, cause number 201-064-323, as charged in count 1, if you could please announce your verdict.
Guilty.
In the matter of the state of Washington versus Jeffrey Nelson, cause number 201-064-323, Mr. Foreperson, if you could please announce your verdict.
Guilty.
Members of our jury, on behalf of the people of the state of Washington, I want to thank you for the time and dedication that you have given this court and this process. We have been involved, and you have been involved with this court as far as jury selection since March, and have been involved here in the courtroom, sitting as members of this jury for several months since then. You came in at different times. We recognize that this process has not been easy, and that it has been disruptive to your friends and family. We thank you for your service and for your dedication. We want to say on behalf of the people of the state of Washington, this court wants to say to you, At this time, all of the orders that I put in place about not discussing the case with anyone, not looking at any information, not doing any information no longer apply to you. You have concluded your service under the summons and you're no longer subject to those court orders. Therefore, you can talk to whomever you wish and you can talk and look up any information you desire to do so. With that, I thank you for your service. We are going to excuse you to the jury room. We're going to have you wait there for a little bit. I'm going to come and talk to you and give you certificates of appreciation. With that, please rise for our jury for your service. And if I could have the original verdict form and documents, please. Oh, wait, jurors, I'm sorry. I forgot one very important piece. Sorry, Mr. Juror. Just to conclude, please be seated. To conclude the process, I do need to poll each of you to make sure that this is the finding of the jury. So at this point in time, I'm going to go through all 12 of you, and I'm going to ask you the following questions. I'm going to ask you as to each count, if it is your individual jury, your individual verdict, and the verdict of the jury as a whole. I'm going to start with juror number one. Juror number one. As to count one in this case, is this your individual verdict?
Yes.
And is the verdict of the jury as a whole?
Yes.
As to count two, is this your individual verdict?
Yes.
Is it the verdict of the jury as a whole?
Yes.
Juror number two, is this your individual verdict as to count one?
Yes.
Is it the verdict of the jury as a whole?
Yes.
Juror number two, as to count two, is this your individual verdict?
Yes.
Is it your verdict of the jury as a whole?
Yes.
Juror number three, is this your individual verdict?
Yes.
Is it the verdict of the jury as a whole as to count one?
Yes.
As to count two, is it your individual verdict?
Yes.
Is it the verdict of the jury as a whole?
Yes.
Juror number five, as to your individual verdict for count one, is this your individual verdict?
Yes.
Is the verdict of the jury as a whole?
Yes.
As to count two, is it your individual verdict?
Yes.
Is the verdict of the jury as a whole?
Yes.
Juror number six, is this your individual verdict?
Yes.
Is it the verdict of the jury as a whole as to count one?
Yes.
As to count two, is this your individual verdict?
Yes.
Is it the verdict of the jury as a whole?
Yes.
Juror number seven, is this your individual verdict?
Yes.
As to count one, is this the verdict of the jury as a whole?
Yes.
As to count two, is this your individual verdict?
Yes.
Is it the verdict of the jury as a whole? Juror number eight, is this your individual verdict as to count one?
Yes.
Is it the verdict of the jury as a whole?
Yes.
As to count two, is this your individual verdict?
Yes.
Is it the verdict of the jury as a whole?
Yes.
Juror number nine, is this your individual verdict?
Yes, Your Honor.
Is it the verdict of the jury as a whole?
Yes.
As to count one. As to count two, is this your individual verdict?
Yes, Your Honor.
Is it the verdict of the jury as a whole?
Yes.
Juror number 11, as to count one, is this your individual verdict?
Yes.
Is it the verdict of the jury as a whole?
Yes.
As to count two, is this your individual verdict?
Yes.
Is this the verdict of the jury as a whole?
Yes.
Juror number 12, is this your individual verdict?
Yes, Your Honor.
As to count one, is this the verdict of the jury as a whole? As to count two, is this your individual verdict? Is it the verdict of the jury as a whole? Juror number 13, as to count one, is this your individual verdict?
Yes.
Is it the verdict of the jury as a whole?
Yes.
As to count two, is your individual verdict?
Yes.
Is it the verdict of the jury as a whole?
Yes.
Mr. Foreperson, is this to count one your individual verdict?
Yes.
Is the verdict of the jury as a whole?
Yes.
That's for count one. For count two, is this your individual verdict?
Yes.
Is it the verdict of the jury as a whole?
Yes.
Thank you. With that, you have now concluded your jury service. Please rise for our jury.
Thank you.
Officer Jeffrey Nelson was found guilty on both counts. It was a rare ruling, one of the first major convictions under Washington's updated law requiring officers to justify their use of deadly force. For Sari's family, it was the moment they had been waiting years to hear. Months later, on January 23, 2025, Nelson returned to court for sentencing. The judge reminded the courtroom that police officers are entrusted with responsibility and must follow their training. Nelson was sentenced to 200 months in prison, more than 16 years for murder, along with a concurrent sentence of 123 months for the assault charge. The story begins on the afternoon of July 9, 2024 in Albany, New York. 21-year-old Davijian Davy Greer had just visited a nearby store with younger relatives. As he tried to drive away, Jamel Manso approached the car. Witnesses later said there had been tension between the two young men earlier that day, though neither of them personally knew each other well. When Greer pulled off, Manso ran after the vehicle. During the chase, shots were fired toward the car in the middle of a busy area during rush hour. The car eventually crashed, and Greer was gravely injured. His passengers survived, but the impact on the family was immediate and devastating. After the incident, Manso fled New York. A manhunt began, and several months later, in December 2024, he was located and arrested in Virginia. With assistance from federal and local authorities, he was returned to New York to face the charges. Months passed as the case moved through the court. Eventually, Manso chose to plead guilty to second-degree murder, accepting responsibility for his actions rather than taking the case to trial. By doing so, he avoided putting the victim's family through more legal proceedings. The sentencing took place in September 2025, and the courtroom was filled with grief. Greer's mother described the last time she saw her son, running errands with his siblings, laughing, and promising to be home soon.
I just want to start by saying that nobody wins here. I'm a mom torn. And I know your mom is torn. On Monday, July 8th, it was the last time I seen my son. That's the last time I seen him alive and well. He stopped by to see us. And I yell at him like I always do. David, where you going? What you doing? I hope you're staying out of trouble. Tell me I am, Mom. I asked him to take his sister and his brother to get some ice cream, and he did. He took them to the stores. He got them ice cream, he brought them home. He was leaving out the door, and I stopped at the top of the stairs, and I was like, I love you, Tommy. And he said, I love you too. And I watched him for some reason. I don't never do this, but I stood at the top of the stairs and I watched him leave. I just watched him till I couldn't see him anymore. I went to work normal on July 9th. I came home. Took a shower and I was sitting on the bed talking to my son. And he was like, Mommy, I'm never riding in the car with Davi again. And I said, why? He said, when he took us to Stewart's, he drives crazy. And I said, so you're never gonna ride with him again? He said, no. And while we were in the middle of having this conversation, my mom started screaming. I ran in there and I couldn't get out of her what happened. So she finally said, somebody killed Davi. And it's at the same stores he took my kids to the day before. Blaming myself. Like maybe if I didn't send him over there the day before, maybe the person seen him over there the day before, maybe he was over there again, hoping to see him again. I don't know if that's what you were doing, but what the I can't even read from this.
Take your time.
You, sir, are a murderer and you're a thief. You stole away from me. You stole away from my kids. They don't have their brother. You stole away from my mom. She has no grandson. Her grandson is born. You just stole away from everybody. I really don't care, but you stole away from your mom too. So you're just a thief and a murderer. You don't belong out here in the streets. I'm sorry. You don't belong out here in the streets. You had no regards for anybody. I'm so sorry. It's my fault. You had no regards for anybody outside that day. There were children in that vehicle. You had no regards for the children that were in that vehicle. I got my son for 21 years. And I don't think you should serve a day less than that. That's how I feel. You stole my protector. And I can't get that back. You stole something that I could never get back. Nobody wins here. I would love to say, I hope you ride in hell. But I don't hope you ride in hell. I just hope you have the days that you deserve. Your Honor, I just hope you give him the maximum time of whatever you can give him. I don't feel like he's fit for society, someone who would shoot anyone in broad daylight in the busiest traffic section ever. I will call you a menace to society. And I'm done.
Greer's grandmother spoke about how the loss shattered their entire family.
I humbly come before you today. First of all, I would like to say that no family should have to endure the pain of sitting to write a victim impact statement. This is one of the most difficult things I've had to do. Your Honor, I had to see my child in pain, a pain no mother should have to bear. I literally watched her turn into a shell. I saw her wanting to give up. I watched her hold on to the very last of her strength for her other children. The pain she endured was still is unfathomable. Your Honor, I watched all of this and I had to try and be strong for her because I knew she needed me. That in and of itself was something that had to be forced. I would at times need to go off alone to cry, scream, and let out all the hurt and pain that I tried to hide from the rest of the family. Your Honor, this has taken such a toll on our family. Your Honor, I find a way to function daily, but emotionally, I am numb. I feel like I'm here physically, but mentally struggling to find reality. Your Honor, this has taken a toll on our entire family. Since the senseless act of violence occurred, we have been in grief counseling. Your Honor, I have been diagnosed with PTSD, anxiety, and depression. I have to take medication just to sleep. Most times I don't sleep because of the violent nightmares I now have. Lastly, Your Honor, Damian Greer was my grandson. I often wonder if he would have gotten married. I wonder if he would have grown into the man he was trying so hard to become. Your Honor, on July 9th, at approximately 5:30 p.m., I received a phone call that changed our family's life drastically. It was the end of my grandson's life. I screamed, no. Then I barely had enough breath to tell my daughter that her son, Davi, was no longer with us. I couldn't breathe. I remember my other grandson telling me over and over again, "Breathe, Grandma, calm down and breathe." Your Honor, Jamel Manso not only murdered my grandson, he chased him down to make sure he could kill him. Jamel Manso only had one thing on his mind. He made sure it happened. I know Davi was in fear for his life, and I don't want to imagine what he was thinking in those last few minutes of his life. But without any regards to being a hot summer day in the middle of rush hour, without any regard for the people passing by, or any regards that there were 3 other people in the car, 2 being children, Jamel Manso decided that it was my grandson's time to die. He chased down his vehicle, running through traffic, and pulled the trigger several times. Then he fled to get away. He ran to Virginia. Your Honor, my grandson tried to flee also. If Jamel Manso would have allowed Davi to flee, he would still be here. With that being said, Your Honor, I now ask that you please give him the maximum assistance that the law allows. It doesn't bring my grandson back, but it allows someone else's grandson or relative to feel safer, knowing that Jamel Manso will not be on the streets to hurt or kill anyone else. Thank you for hearing me, Your Honor. I love you forever, grandson. Forever 21. Avion Z. Greer. Thank you.
Another passenger in the car submitted a written statement saying they replay the event in their mind constantly and wish the day could have gone differently. They wrote about the shock, the fear, and the heartbreak of losing someone they cared about. When it was the prosecution's turn, they explained that the act was extremely reckless, carried out in broad daylight near homes and shops. They asked the judge to impose the maximum sentence allowed under the law. Manso's attorney asked the court to consider that he had taken responsibility by pleading guilty and expressed that he was remorseful. Manso himself spoke briefly, offering an apology.
In these circumstances, unfortunately, as you've been through this many times before, there's nothing that I can say that would be more powerful or meaningful than those of his family and loved ones. The loss in their lives for the remainder of their lives is incomprehensible, and I can't imagine the pain that they go through every day up from now until the end. The thoughts and feelings that they'll have for Davion. The action that this defendant took that day is truly remarkable. It's horrifying, thoughtless, reckless, and callous. This happened, as the court is aware, in the middle of the day, broad daylight. He opened fire on a vehicle where he knew that there were 2 children in that car. Young age, 11, 12 years old. He had no regard for the lives of anybody in that area. And it's a miracle, but for the grace of God, there weren't more casualties that day. He had a specific target in mind of a person that he says in his PSI he didn't even know this person. He didn't even know him, but he was so willing. He was so willing to take his life.
Whenever you're ready, Coach.
It's horrifying that something like that could take place between these two young men, one of which will never be here again, and one of which is going to lose his life being incarcerated. I ask this court to listen and heed the words of his family and sentence this defendant to the maximum allowable sentence, 20 years to life, as justice demands that this defendant be kept incarcerated for as long as possible for the damage that he caused to Mr. Greer's family. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Alpern, do you wish to be heard before the court imposes a sentence?
Yes, briefly, Your Honor.
Whenever you're ready, counsel.
I have set forth materials for the court's consideration in the letter, and I don't want to reiterate those in detail. I do want to say that in my Mr. Manzo, having committed this offense, I think has done really the only thing possible for him to do at this point. He accepted responsibility. He explained in the PSI that he did so in large part because he doesn't want Mr. Greer's family to have to relive this. I believe his conscience is enormously bothered by this. He's accepted responsibility. He's remorseful for what he's done. He realizes how much he's hurt the Greer family, the community, his family, all of it. And was willing, when Mr. Greer's family was at least reaching out to engage in a restorative justice initiative, he would have done that if that's what they wanted. They chose not to. That's their right. I fully understand why they would not want to do something like that, but he was willing to. I mean, he put in the pre-sentence report that he hopes that someday the Greer family would forgive him. They've endured a tremendous, painful loss, and Mr. Manzo, clearly he's going to receive a life sentence. I think there are some reasons to balance a small amount of rehabilitation with this sentence, and that's pretty much where what I have to say at this point.
Thank you. Mr. Manzo, do you wish to be heard? Any legal cause for a sentence cannot be imposed here today.
No, Your Honor. I would note at the conclusion of you rendering your sentence, I would just like to hand up to the court orders of protection at that time in relation to this case.
The court will issue final orders of protection as indicated in the original agreement. Mr. Alpern, any legal cause by sentence cannot be imposed here today.
There's not, Your Honor.
So this court has reviewed all the pre-sentence investigation reports. I've also reviewed the victim impact statements, all the materials submitted by the defense in their sentencing memo, including the evaluations as well. I see no legal reason why sentence cannot be imposed here today. Unfortunately, Mr. Alpern, you had mentioned that, Mr. Manzo was willing to sit down with the family and discuss with them, in the hopes of having them forgive his actions. I know that did not happen. I think what could have been done, as opposed to him pleading guilty to have the family not relive these circumstances, is to not have shot Davion in the first place. Then there'd be nothing to relive. Unfortunately, Mr. Mercado, your statements about me being here often and seeing these cases is correct, unfortunately. What I'll say is this, though. This is probably the first time, I don't think I've ever sat next to someone, referring to Davion's grandmother, who I've seen or who I felt has lost every sense of happiness, joy, or even her exact soul that's just been taken away from her as a result of this senseless murder. I don't think I've ever felt that before, sitting in this chair.
You know, unfortunately to the family, you're never going to really find closure. I know they're going to tell you that. They're going to say this thing about closure to try to make you feel better. But that doesn't happen. What happens, though, is that you get a bit stronger. You learn how to deal with this. You start respecting and understanding the memory of Davion. That makes you stronger where you're able to cope with the loss. But there's never going to be a sense of closure. You're going to have this pain, whether it comes daily, whether you can't sleep at night for a period of time. But that's something that's going to happen for a long time. Unfortunately, whatever sentence I give is not going to cure that. It's something that you're going to have to learn and get stronger and hopefully deal with at some point in time. It sounds like you're taking a lot of steps to help you deal with that. But I just want to let you know, you're going to hear this thing about closure. It's going to be based on how strong you get dealing with this pain. All right? I'm not sure what it's going to take to counteract the senseless violence that happens. Where we can gun down someone in broad daylight, shoot them, shoot at kids with really no care in the world. I'm not sure what it's going to take. I'm not sure what makes you think it's okay to do that, especially in the city of Albany. Seeing too many young kids, too many people like you, Mr. Manzo, who come here and they have no concerns in the world for anyone else. Because those bullets have no name on them, right? I think Mr. Ricardo may have said it, or, by the grace of God, no one else got shot. No kids were dead, and there's no other parents here that are grieving. Under these circumstances, I think the appropriate sentence with regards to your plea to murder in the second degree, the Class A1 felony, is the indeterminate term of no less than 20 years to life. I'm going to impose all the mandatory surcharges and fees. I'm also going to issue the final orders of protection. You're going to have no contact with the protected parties. You're to stay away from their home, their school, their business, place of employment. You're not to communicate with them by any means. That includes mail, telephone, email, text message, social media, or any other electronic format. No contact means no contact whatsoever.
The judge acknowledged the pain expressed by the family, reminding them that true closure rarely exists after such a loss, but strength over time often does. He noted the seriousness of what happened, how easily more people could have been hurt, and said the law required a punishment that reflected the gravity of the situation. In the end, the judge sentenced Jamel Manso to 20 years to life in prison, the maximum allowed. He also issued orders of protection to ensure the family would not have contact with him. Manso confirmed he did not wish to appeal. In May 2025, a disturbing case began unfolding in Detroit, Michigan, involving 47-year-old Wilfredo Figueroa Barrios, a hospital worker from Wayne. Authorities allege that on May 9, 2025, he assaulted a 41-year-old woman inside a porta-potty near Grand Circus Park. The woman immediately contacted police, who opened an investigation that quickly led to Figueroa Barrios' arrest. At the time, he was employed at a Detroit hospital, where he worked in patient care. What began as a single allegation soon expanded into a wider investigation. As prosecutors reviewed his background, they uncovered additional complaints from patients, several of whom accused him of inappropriate conduct while they were under his care. By late August 2025, prosecutors filed formal charges for multiple incidents, including third-degree and fourth-degree criminal sexual conduct. One of the alleged assaults occurred while Figueroa Barrios was on duty in an emergency room, where, according to investigators, he took advantage of patients in vulnerable conditions. Another complaint dated back to August 24, 2025, with more victims expected to come forward. During his arraignment on September 4, 2025, prosecutors revealed that he was now connected to at least 5 separate cases, including those from earlier in the year and one from 2020 currently under review.
Thank you. All right, so the court will enter a not guilty plea on Mr. Figueroa Barrios' behalf. And Ms. Broughton, you want to comment on bond?
I do, Your Honor. Thank you very much. Your Honor, Mr. Figueroa Barrios is charged currently with 3 counts of CSC 3, 2 counts of CSC 2 in a case that has already been arraigned. Now he is charged with 1 count of CSC 3 and 1 count of CSC 4 in this case, Judge. Now, I would like the court to be aware that we have at least 4 more pending cases that I am personally reviewing, Judge. One with an incident date as soon as August 24th, 2025, Judge. This is a man who preys on vulnerable patients and victims, Judge. I think he is a threat to the community. I think that he needs to be nowhere near a hospital. And furthermore, there's another case from 2020 that I'm also reviewing out of Livonia, Judge. I don't want to speak too much as to the facts as they're still in review. However, this man does have a modus operandi. He victimizes his victims who are vulnerable in vulnerable states who come seeking help in the hospital. Judge, I think that a very high cash, no 10% bond is necessary in this case to keep the community safe. I'm asking for $500,000, no 10%, please.
Okay, and then Ms. Broughton, if you could tell me, you said there are other matters that have, he's already been arraigned on. Do you have the bond amounts and the next court actions on those?
I do have, for the first case that was charged, that's the 3 counts of CSC 3 and 2 counts of CSC 2. I have a PCC date on that case already. This case before your honor is the second case I've charged, but I expect to review and make charging decisions on several more cases very soon.
All right, the bond amounts, if you know, on those.
Your honor, I believe it was a personal bond on the 100,000 personal bond on the first.
It was a personal bond, Your Honor.
Assistant Prosecutor Grace Ton told the court that the defendant appeared to have a clear pattern of behavior, calling him a danger to the community who targets vulnerable patients. The defense attorney, Deborah Schlessel, countered by arguing that the allegations were unreliable.
The other matter, he would have to get a tether, and he actually was awaiting the tether, and he was about to get it when this new case was filed or about to be filed, and so he did not get his tether. And Your Honor, if I can respond, I would appreciate it.
An opportunity. I just wanted my questions answered first, but you proceed, Ms. Swanson.
Your Honor, in the first case, at the arraignment, the prosecution stated that the complaining witness had more than 6 times the legal limit of alcohol when she claims that this occurred, and when she told the police, there is no way this is a credible witness. Secondly, my client is a nurse. That's the only thing I agree with. He is helping the community. Unfortunately, he works at emergency rooms where it is mostly populated by drug addicts, alcoholics, and people who have severe mental illness. Many of them are homeless. A lot of them are delusional. He's had people hit on him. The Livonia case that was mentioned, which we're not here on today, he was already cleared, and they found that, in fact, his DNA was not even on the alleged victim. 2 other people's DNA was on the alleged victim. Your Honor, my client will not be in a hospital when he's released, so we are asking for personal bond. This all involves people who are drug addicts and people afflicted with mental illness. My client has no criminal record or barely any. And Your Honor, he was awaiting his bond. He was going to go home to his wife. If he has to be under a house arrest, he would, but he needs to find a job and work so that he can pay me, and also he can live his life. He's innocent until proven guilty. These allegations are false. And Your Honor, there is no DNA evidence. There's nothing to my understanding. The reason people are coming out of the woodwork is that Simon Shaquette of Channel 7, who I think is on this Zoom, has been putting this story out all over the place saying, oh, the police are looking for other victims. So people are coming out of the woodwork. They're not credible. These are old cases where my client was cleared. There are a lot of people he has to touch in his capacity as a nurse. He has to clean people's feces and urine. He has to wipe them. He has to dress them. The particular victim in the first case, alleged victim, who, again, it was testified, or it was presented to the court by the prosecution that she was more than 6 times the legal limit of alcohol, that she was coming on to my client. He put her down. There is footage in all of these hospitals, and it will show my client didn't do anything. There's no evidence. These are very flimsy cases. So we are asking for personal bond, Your Honor.
She claimed that one of the key witnesses had been highly intoxicated at the time, and that her client, a longtime nurse, regularly worked with patients struggling with addiction, mental illness, and homelessness, all situations that could lead to misunderstandings. Schlüssel also referenced a past case from Livonia in 2020, which she said was dispensed dismissed after DNA tests cleared her client.
Your Honor, Ms. Sheshel and I agree on one fact, which is that he is preying on vulnerable victims. Yes, these are victims who are coming to the hospital
I
for
didn't
help.
say he was.
Well,
I don't agree.
Ms. Lawson? Okay.
He's preying
Go
on
ahead, Ms.
victims,
Brown.
Your Honor, who are coming in. They're coming in because they are 6 times the legal limit and in no capacity to consent to any sexual assault. They're coming in because they're hurt. They're coming in for various reasons. They do have mental health issues, some of them. And he picks them out, Your Honor, for these reasons because of these vulnerabilities. Furthermore, Judge, I would also state that Ms. Schlessel is incorrect about the incidents. Most of these are from 2025. I have August 2025, May 2025, another August 2025, another August 2025, a July 2025. These are not old cases. And the Livonia case that was denied, that's not the Livonia case I'm talking about here. I'm talking about an additional case, Judge. So this man is preying on vulnerable victims who come in seeking help. And he knows how to pick his victims. And that's why he is so dangerous. And that's why the bond should be a high cash bond.
All right, then. Thank you. The court appreciates the arguments that have been set forth by the parties. Mr. Figueroa Barrios, you have hired an attorney, but this is not time for trial. And so I know that you dispute many of the facts, Ms. Lussell, but this is an arraignment. And the court has to look at 2 things as to whether or not he poses a flight risk, or whether or not he poses a danger to the community. In reviewing the report and listening to the arguments, court does find that he poses a danger to the community. These facts are quite disturbing. And then he has multiple charges pending. I'm not here to determine his guilt or innocence, but I am here to determine that he poses a danger to the community. Therefore, the court will set cash surety bond in the amount of $100,000. And you can tell me if that's affordable or unaffordable.
That is unaffordable, Your Honor. I gave him and his family a very low, generous fee and payment schedule.
So, no, we're not here to discuss fees this morning. We're here to discuss bond. You'll have to work that out between the family at a later point in time. The bond is $100,000. Cash surety. He has a bond redetermination hearing.
Despite the defense's objections, the judge sided with prosecutors, concluding that Figueroa Barrios posed a risk to the public. The court set a $100,000 cash bond with no 10% option and ordered him to have no contact with the alleged victims. He was also barred from entering any hospital except for emergency medical care. A bond redetermination hearing was scheduled for September 8th, followed by a probable cause conference on September 15th and a preliminary examination on September 22nd at Detroit's 36th District Court. In the weeks that followed, more potential victims came forward, and prosecutors confirmed that additional cases were under review. Local media reported that at least 4 to 7 more women had contacted law enforcement with similar allegations. As of October 2025, Wilfredo Figueroa Barrios remains charged with multiple counts of criminal sexual conduct, awaiting further court hearings. Prosecutors maintain that his pattern of behavior demonstrates a significant threat to the community, while his defense insists he is being falsely accused. Big thanks to our viewers for joining the courtroom journey with us. Your interest in the stories of justice is what keeps our channel alive.